Good afternoon, everyone. It's David Schlotthauer here with a detailed update on Tropical Storm Francine for Tuesday, September the 10th, 2024. As always, my thoughts in this video are mine alone, and making any decisions regarding Francine, please consult the National Hurricane Center, your local weather office, and your local officials for the latest information for where you are. So here's a look at the latest GOES 16 Channel 2 visible satellite imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. The system has made some surprises for us this afternoon since yesterday when drier air coming off of the Sierra Madre mountain chain, this barrier jet was able to ingest cooler, drier air into the circulation, which is why the system was not able to strengthen since last night. But now recently, we're beginning to see a tighter inner core structure beginning to take place here. We can see some very deep, aggressive, augmented cumulonimbus cloud formation and a lot of lightning activity happening on the northern fringe of the system. So a very intense northern eye wall is beginning to take place here. However, on the southern side, there is a little bit of drier air beginning to encroach onto the system. So we are going to really have to see on how this deeper or renewed convection is able to wrap all the way around and close off the southern eye wall. Until that happens, the system will eventually begin to intensify, but more gradually than in rapid in earnest here as the system begins to moving off into the northeasterly direction towards the coast of, say, the Vermilion Bay, as well as Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as well as, say, Lake Charles, Louisiana in the next day or two. Another way we can look at this is on the infrared satellite imagery, taking note of some very cold cloud tops on that northern and western circulation. And now recently they have collapsed with renewed convection now taking place here with very cold cloud tops, indicating that the system is still attempting to get better organized and strengthened. Now, when we take a zoomed out view here over the deep south of the United States and the Gulf of Mexico here, looking at our low level water vapor imagery from the College of DuPage website, these redder and oranger colors indicate really dry air in the deep layers of the atmosphere. We also have a lot of dry air over central Mexico and Baja California. And what's going to end up happening here with Francine is right now it's in a pretty optimal environment. Anticyclonic flow over the system. You can see feathery white cirrus doing this. So this is indeed a very optimal setup for the inner core to thrive in and able to build up that inner core structure for it to intensify. But what's going to end up happening here in the next 12 to 18 hours is as Francine begins to move northward here, and you'll see this on the models, this westerly belt of drier air and shear will be hitting the system from stage left to stage right, and it will be impacting the western side of the circulation and even the southern side. So what you're going to end up seeing here on the modeling forecast is that the inner core structure on the southern and western sides will be eroding on the approach here to Louisiana by Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening, and that means that the system will not be able to intensify from where it may be in the next 12 hours. So therefore, there's a little bit of uncertainties here on the intensity forecast, but we're beginning to figure it out a little bit better. Here's a look at the HAVS-B hurricane-specific model run. This is the 12Z output. We're waiting for our 18Z model run to come in right now, and so unfortunately we won't be showing you that in today's video, but this gives us a general rundown what might end up happening for Francine's future. So right now, winds are about 65 to 70 miles an hour based on the inner core formation that is currently going on. So this is strengthening, this is organizing, and what's going to end up happening is overnight tonight, the system could really take full advantage of the background environment, lesser wind shear, lots of moisture, and we end up seeing a hurricane here on approach to Louisiana with winds of about, say, 90 to 100 miles an hour. And you can see that here clearly on this model run with those winds running at about 90 miles an hour on approach to the southern Louisiana coast. For reference, this is Vermilion Bay right here. Here is Baton Rouge, Louisiana-ish. Also Mardi Gras and New Orleans, Louisiana. So this is a pretty populated area. A lot of people live here, and that means A lot of people could be getting some significant impacts here due to storm surge flooding, freshwater flooding, damaging hurricane force winds, tornadoes, water spouts, that sort of thing. And so this makes landfall by tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Models have trended a little slower in today's guidance. So that means not so much of a Wednesday early afternoon, Wednesday late morning landfall, more like now Wednesday evening at this given time. And as this gets closer and moves onshore over Lake Pontchartrain, we still have tropical storm force winds here of winds of right around, say, 50 to 60 miles an hour. And it continues to be a fairly robust circulation even onshore, but it really begins to weaken once that deep layer shear increases, as well as the land interaction. The HAVS A model, a little bit aggressive on its run this morning and early afternoon. We can see it here with winds of about 70 to 75 miles an hour. So again, a little bit more intense here. Doesn't seem to match up with the latest recon data, which we don't have in this video. But nevertheless, we're going to see this intensify pretty quickly overnight tonight during the DMAX period or diurnal max. That will allow winds here to reach about 90 to 100 miles an hour by about the overnight hours here of Tuesday into Wednesday, and then could intensify a little bit more into Wednesday morning here with winds even approaching 100 miles an hour. So this would be a Category 2 hurricane. Now, while explicitly not shown in the NHC advisory, that does not mean that, oh, we're not going to see a Cat 2 hurricane. It could happen between late tonight into early tomorrow morning. So that's what this model kind of illustrates here. Okay, winds here specifically about 110 plus miles an hour. And this really is intense on approach, possibly 90 to 100 miles an hour. This would be a very strong Category 1, Category 2 hurricane approaching near Vermilion Bay, as well as, say, areas, say, Lake Pontchartrain, if you're in New Orleans, Mardi Gras, as well as, say, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Gonzales, Louisiana. This is a big deal. This could do a lot of damage, down trees, power lines, that sort of thing. And on this model, the circulation remains a little bit more augmented, more intact, with winds here of about 30 to 40 miles an hour. That's near tropical storm force, with those wind gusts here right in the ballpark of about 55 to 60 miles an hour. So still a very intense circulation. And speaking of wind gusts onshore here could be approaching about 100 to 120 miles an hour, enough to rip down trees, power lines, and lead to a lot of property damage. Now, as far as a structure goes, this look at the rainfall forecast. This is the composite reflectivity forecast simulated by the HAVS A model run. And we can see here, this is a little aggressive because what I'm about to show you does not indicate that there's hardly any rain on the southern flank of the system. There's probably some, but not like what this is indicating. Lots of heavy rainfall to the north of this, that's a given, and also some banding features off to the east. But when we look at the Doppler radar from, say, near the southern portion here of, see, Brownville, Texas, we can see that the inner core structure here is eroded, so we don't have a whole lot of rainfall and precipitation falling on the southwestern and southern sides due to, again, some drier air being encroached into the system still. However, though, we are seeing this inner core beginning to take shape here, this kind of backward C-looking shape with some very intense rainfall, which fortunately, we were able to get a weather station plot here indicating winds of about 50 miles an hour and gusts exceeding 61 miles an hour. So we are getting tropical storm force winds at the surface. And you can even see here a very strong arcing band intimating outward, indicating that there is some drier air here present within the western flank of Francine's structure. And so when we put this into motion, we can see that overnight tonight, a inner core does try to get established, but take note again on the southern side here, really does not develop very well. We have an erosion due to the eye wall, due to some drier air, but a very intense, aggressive looking northern eye wall here. And unfortunately, this is headed towards the coast of Louisiana. So the worst case scenario here happens even before the center actually moves on shore, like most hurricanes. And we even have an area here on the eastern side where we could get water spouts and tornadoes as well as this moves on shore. And so by Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours, very, very heavy rain, water spouts, tornadoes, some of them could be strong and quick forming. And we even have water spout and tornado production well to the east in Biloxi, as well as if you're in Pensacola, Florida, Panama City, Florida, well, even way off the map here, can see some chances of some heavy rainfall and some gusty winds too. But really, where this inner core goes, where that northern eye wall ends up headed, and where the worst of the impacts go, will determine the worst case impacts that are anticipated. But once this moves onshore, this will weaken a little bit, but will generate some very heavy rainfall over Tennessee, over western Tennessee, northern Mississippi, as well as Arkansas, and across, say, Missouri, southern Illinois, into Kentucky. And eventually, this could open up into an open wave over Indiana somewhere, perhaps moving over the rest of Kentucky with time. And take note, still a tornado threat could exist here if we get storms that what this model is showing. This is a look at the latest from the National Hurricane Center on Tropical Storm Francine as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. I am assuming in their next advisory, this could get upgraded a little bit more to 70 to 75 miles an hour based on the inner core structure, the convection, the organization state of Francine. So it does not surprise me at all of what we're seeing. Hurricane warnings are now issued still, tropical storm warnings and hurricane watches, this little hatched area. This is the legacy version of the NHC cone. So this is different than the traditional cone of uncertainty, with tropical storm watches out north of the tropical storm warnings over southern Mississippi, as well as portions there on the border of Louisiana and Mississippi in itself. But we can see hurricane conditions are expected here. So regardless of how strong this is, a hurricane is headed for Louisiana, and all preparations need to be done by tonight. I repeat, by tonight. All preparations need to be completed by. Here are the key messages for Tropical Storm Francine as of 4 o'clock this afternoon. There is a danger of life-threatening storm surge for the Louisiana and Mississippi coastlines where a storm surge warning is in effect. Residents in the warning area should follow advice, including evacuation orders given by local officials. Damaging and life-threatening hurricane force winds are expected in portions of southern Louisiana on Wednesday, where a hurricane warning is now in effect. Preparations to protect your life and property should be completed by tonight, since tropical storm conditions are expected to begin within this area early Wednesday. Francine is expected to bring very heavy rainfall and the risk of considerable, potentially life-threatening urban and street flooding, as well as small creek and river flooding across eastern Louisiana, Mississippi, far southern Alabama, and the southwestern and western Florida panhandle. Not southwestern, but western panhandle of Florida. Flash and urban flooding is possible across the lower Tennessee Valley, lower Mississippi Valley, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. So again, big time flooding, big time hurricane force winds, and damage are expected, folks. Please do not underestimate Francine. All that needs to happen is you get caught out in the wrong time, at the wrong place, and we can see problems. We can see fatalities. This is a storm to not mess with. Most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds are as follows. There is a 100% chance. So Vermilion Bay will see tropical storm force winds with this system. All right, by Wednesday morning. So you have literally a little over 12 hours to get prepared for tropical storm force winds. This is not good. All right, if you're in Mardi Gras, Gonzales, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, you have a 50 to 70% chance of tropical storm force winds arriving by Wednesday late morning into the early afternoon hours. This is out for a reason, folks. This needs to be taken seriously because right now I am giving you some alert. I'm giving you a heads up what is coming, and what is coming, it's not looking good. This is unfortunate news. So here's a look at the rainfall totals here from the Weather Prediction Center. And you can see just to the east of Lake Charles, you could get 8 to 12 inches of rainfall. Again, Vermilion Bay, up to a foot of rainfall is expected here. New Orleans, Louisiana, 4 to 6 inches of rainfall. And yes, you don't need to be by the coast to see the biggest wind and rain impacts. This is going to spread well inland over Jackson, Mississippi, where you might see up to 6 inches of rain, and east of Memphis, Tennessee, western Tennessee, you might see up to 4 to 5 inches of rainfall. Nashville, Evansville, and even Kokomo, Indiana could see more than a couple of inches of rainfall out of Francine. So this is going to go well inland, way inland, and it's not just a coastal threat. Mobile, Alabama, Tallahassee, Florida could see up to 4 to 5 inches of rainfall out of this, and even up to 4 inches, unbelievable, for northeastern portion there of Georgia, northwestern South Carolina, and western and southwestern in North Carolina, or actually South Carolina here, North Carolina up here. You get the idea. Lots of rainfall in the orographic favored mountain range here of the Appalachians. Unfortunately, I've got some even more worser news to share with you. This is not good. There is a moderate to perhaps even a high threat in a narrow corridor of very heavy rainfall, street flooding, urban flooding, small creek and stream, river flooding, that sort of thing. Not good. Please take this seriously. Evacuate the coastline due to even oceanic flooding. So you're going to have salt water plus freshwater flooding, and that's really going to exacerbate things. And we could see storm surge, folks, over 10 feet. Some areas might even see storm surge as high as 12 feet with this hurricane as it moves closer and closer to Louisiana. So this is not good at all. Looking at the peak storm surge forecast here from the National Hurricane Center, Vermilion Bay, up to 10 feet of storm surge, locally even higher, perhaps even 12 feet. So that's 2 times the height of a 6-foot person. So again, 5 to 12 feet of storm surge cannot be ruled out here in red. You could see up to maybe 4 to 7 feet if you are south or mouth of the Mississippi River. To the south of that, you could see up to 9 feet of storm surge. And then, of course, over Lake Pontchartrain, as well as, say, the Mississippi-Alabama border, you could see as much as 3 to 5 feet of storm surge. And of course, over here in Cameron, Sabine Pass, the storm surge does not look to be as bad, since we now know that this area right here will see the worst impacts. Not much of a Texas threat now, fortunately, but also unfortunately, you could still see up to 3 feet of storm surge. Even so, the center does not move on top of you at all. So with that being said, here's a look at the spaghetti plot from our initialized 18Z model run on Francine. So right now, most of the models right now have this becoming a Category 1 hurricane. So we will see a hurricane out of this in the next 6 to 12 hours, perhaps maybe a tad sooner, with the most bullish forecast here, a high-end Category 1 with 95-mile-an-hour winds. Well, 95, they don't use that for in their advisories, but roughly 90 to 100-mile-an-hour winds. So my intensity forecast has been nudged down, so I am now expecting this to only reach winds of about 85, maybe 90 miles an hour, which is not good news. So this is still going to be a hurricane, and I expect this to weaken rapidly weaken once it moves onshore. The model track guidance remains pretty much straightforward at this point. There's not going to be much adjustments westward or eastward at all. We know pretty well right now where this is headed. And right now in Vermilion Bay, you need to be taking precautions. You need to make sure you have all documents packed away. Perishable food, you need to make sure, or non-perishable food packed away, because this is going to be impacting your area in a little about 24 hours or so. You can see the 24-hour plot here, just shy or just over that. So you don't have much time to get ready for a landfall here with tropical storm force winds. And right now, the model guidance remains very tightly clustered over Mississippi through days 3, 4, and 5. So with that being said, Hurricane Francine is going to be developing very soon. Right now, it's a tropical storm with winds of about 70, maybe even perhaps a hurricane, given the inner core structure in the recent frame here. Really blowing up deep convection right now. And again, maybe a hurricane in the next advisory as this approaches Louisiana. Everyone in Louisiana, especially Vermilion Bay, over towards Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Gonzales, Louisiana, you need to be taking this seriously. This is no joke at all. We have seen a lot of powerful hurricanes here impacting Louisiana in recent memory, and this is no exception. So again, please follow local officials, local authorities by the National Hurricane Center. They are here to keep you safe, keep you alive, and keep you not so stressed because of this hurricane. All right. But anyways, that's going to do it with this video. Share, like, and subscribe, and I will have a live update feed, news feed on this disturbance tomorrow.